kind of keep that big toe charged in, and I know that
It's set up and ready to go for it. You're used to this, are you?
yeah, I wear some of our workers
All right, so we're going to begin. Let yourself sit however's comfortable. You know whether you're in a chair or on the floor. You want to be mindful of getting yourself comfortable for your hips. And remember, grab blankets. If you need a blanket to sit on, use a blanket. And lengthen up. And let your shoulders release down and let yourself just adjust. Shift around a little bit if you need to. Good. And let's close our eyes and let our awareness now just easily come to the breath, coming in and going out through our noses. And if you can imagine that the breath is coming in and going out equally through both sides of your nose. Comfortable to bring the breath into the belly, letting your belly rise and expand as you inhale. We'll release our hands now on out beside us. So let yourself, if you're on the floor, lightly touch the floor with your fingertips there. Then we'll inhale the arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down through the midline to be in front of our hearts. And then let's reverse and inhale the hands right up through the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms on back out and down. And then inhale, bring your hands forward of your shoulders and flex your hands here so that you feel the fingertips facing up. And then come on back to let the palms face towards the ground. And let's turn the thumbs down and the pinkies up so we let our palms face away from each other. And then bring one hand on top of the other. It doesn't matter which one. Clasp your hands, soften your shoulders down, and start to lower your hands down. Now you might just want to go a little ways and stop right there with your head looking down at your hands here now. Or some of you might want to go ahead and continue. Bring the hands up through that hole you created. Maybe even resting your forehead right there on your hands. So right between your eyebrows might be able to rest there on your hands. And if that doesn't feel good, don't do it. So you can stay with the hands down. You don't have to do that turning them inside out thing, bringing them up through the hole. You can just keep them down and release your neck there. One more breath. And then if your hands were up, send them back down through that hole. Bring the arms on back, forward and through. And now under your hands, you're still going to keep the thumbs down as you just switch and bring the other wrist on top. Lowering the hands on down. You might want to stay right there. You might want to keep going, hands coming all the way down and then up. And releasing, if possible, your head towards your hands. If that doesn't feel good, don't go there, right? Just breathe. Let your neck release. Really feel soft through your face here now. And then we'll send the hands again back down and through and forward, letting them come forward to the chest. And then let's uncross our wrists, bring our hands straight on out from our shoulders, flex your hands, bring your hands in towards your shoulders. And then as you exhale, press out into the heels of the hands. And then again, inhaling, letting your hands come inward. And as you exhale, let them press on out, straight out from your shoulders. Good. And then just let the elbows soften and circle your hands around a little bit, moving through your wrists. And when you're ready, let them reverse circles. Good. Good, and then bring the hands on down. Kind of shake your arms out a little bit. Take a nice inhale. And on the exhale, let's twist towards our left. Bring your right hand maybe around to your left knee, maybe to the midline, depends on you. And that back hand can lightly touch the floor there behind you, or you can release your arm down the back of your chair. Just waking up the spine and a gentle twist here. Inhale. And on the exhale, we'll come on back around through center. We're going to go all the way in the other direction. So be mindful. Just feel those sitting bones into the surface you're sitting on. Lengthen up through the top of your head. And think of your chin staying about parallel to the floor. One more inhale. And on the exhale, move your way on back around into center. And remember which leg you have in front if you're cross-legged. Let's all stretch our legs out for a second. And then let your feet flex and then let them point. So you're moving through your ankles. So drawing the toes up and back. And then when you point, let yourself just release through the tops of the feet and the ankles. And let yourself really feel your legs as you flex and point. So take a couple more of just moving through there. Good, and then we'll come on back. If you were cross-legged and you're going to switch, just bring your other leg in front. If you're going to remain cross-legged, switch legs if you can. And then sitting up nice and tall here, just think about letting yourself ease a little bit forward when you exhale. And when you inhale, you come on back up to sitting. So you keep your back nice and long. It might mean you only move an inch or so, right? Or it might mean that you really like coming farther forward out over your legs. Really totally depends on you. Be mindful of how your back feels. But just enjoy now having the breath be what moves you. Exhaling your way forward and inhaling your way back up. Enjoy that rocking motion, very calming. Good. And then finish the one you're on so you end up back upright again. We'll release our arms out beside us. Let's inhale both arms up into a wide V. Turn your pinkies a little more towards each other. Feel how your shoulders just melt down away from your ears. And if you're okay to look up, let yourself look up a little bit. And then as you exhale, lower your arms on down beside you here. And let's bring our hands behind us. If you're in your chair, you might need to come forward. And just interlace your fingers there behind you. So you feel your chest really nice and open here. And see if you can come into a couple of three-part breaths. So inhaling into the belly, then into the ribs, and then up higher maybe into your chest. And then when you exhale, let the breath come out of the chest first, and then down to the ribs, and then down to your belly. So it's like you're starting a bottom floor of an elevator and riding up to the top with your breath. And then when you exhale, it just reverses from the top down through the ribs to the bottom. And then we're going to release and let our arms come on out beside us. Shake out just a little bit, move around. We're going to come around towards our hands and knees. And if you know you do not want to be on your knees, don't be, right? So you may decide you want to use a chair for your hands so you're not down on your knees, but you're on your feet. Or you might be coming down and your knees don't like the harshness of the ground, so you can put a blanket underneath your knees or under your hands or both, right? Be mindful of how you feel in your hands. So if you need to come to fists because you don't, that wrist crease is just too much for you, then go ahead and come onto your fists. And then take a breath here. Let yourself just find a neutral spine. So you know our back has all these curves in it, natural curves. So engage your belly a little bit, but try not to do anything except just find that really natural, neutral spine. And then on your next exhale, draw on up into your cat pose. Feel your tailbone reaching down. Start to really round up into the spine here and here. Let your head hang. And on your next inhale, send your tailbone back and up. Your belly's going to melt down, your ribs, your chest. You can look forward if you want in your cow, or you can stay looking down. And then just your way now to moving between these two poses. But if you need to stay in one of the poses for a little bit, do. So if you're like, cat pose feels great, I just want to stay here for a couple of breaths, or maybe it's cow pose that feels great. Or maybe you just like to continuously flow through, just really waking up the spine. Good. And we'll finish off the one that we're on, or that you're heading into now. And we're going to come to a more neutral spine here. So let yourself come back to that neutral spine. And we'll bring our left foot forward and step our right foot back to come into a lunge here. Now you can use your blocks, you can use your chair, you can go down lower to the floor if you want. Remember, your blocks have 3 heights. So if one of them doesn't feel quite right, change the height of the blocks if you like. Let yourself enjoy coming into that lunge there, feeling that right heel reaching directly behind your foot. Engage your belly a little bit there. Feel that openness through the back of the right leg. And just be mindful of that front knee. Make sure you're not bending that knee out beyond your toes. And we're going to switch legs. So how you do that switching is totally up to you, right? Coming into stepping that left foot back and mindfully getting aligned there again with that front knee, reaching the back heel directly behind you. Draw your shoulders down, away from your ears. Good. One more breath. And we're going to switch legs again. This time, be mindful here about if you'd like to lift up a little bit more to get into your legs a little more, you can bring your left hand or forearm up to your thigh. Totally up to you. You can keep both hands down in your lunge. It's up to you whether you want to lift up at all. Letting yourself come a little bit more into the legs and the hips. And we are going to switch legs again. Remember, in lunges, you do want your feet like you're on really narrow railroad tracks, right? So you don't want to be like you're on a tightrope with your feet. You want to be hips distance apart really with your feet the wide way. Good. You can bring that right hand or forearm up if you want. And from here, we're going to come on back with our hands down and step forward and come into standing forward bend. Now this is one we're all different in, right? If you know your back bothers you, your low back, you need to keep that back long, do whatever you need to do that. You know, hands on the chair, elbows above your knees if they're bent will keep your back nice and lengthened. So you want to be really mindful. If you can let your head hang, do. Even if you're supported for your low back to stay long, you can still maybe let your head hang. Remember, knees can be bent and you're standing forward bent. Knees can be straighter. You just don't want to lock your knees. And just breathe. Easy, full, deep breaths. Let go through your face. Let go all around your eyes and your mouth, really. Really feel soft all around your eyes, and think about letting go, even like relaxing your throat, your jaw. Watching the breath now, in and out. Nice. One more breath here. And we will bring our hands on up to our hips and bend our knees and rise on up to standing, inhaling our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. So take your time to get into your mountain pose. Start with your feet, and even if you feel better to walk in place a little bit, do get your feet as parallel as feels comfortable for you. With your feet hips distance apart, so your hip pointer bones are kind of lined up with the center of your feet, rather than having a really, really wide stance. You know, we're all different. You got to find what feels really good, how far apart your feet are. And then bringing your gaze on forward and out, let your hands just gently come to meet in front of your chest. Spread your fingers just a little bit now. Be aware of the connection through each of your fingers and your thumbs, whatever part of your palms touch. But let it be easy, not a tense feeling. And then go back to your feet again and imagine that you're pressing the floor away from you with your feet. So bend the knees just a little bit, press down into the feet like you're pushing the floor away. And then imagine you're kind of growing up out of those rooted feet. So thighs start to lift up towards the hips. Legs become a little straighter but not locked, not locking your knees. And then the pelvis. Once your tailbone reaches down towards between your heels, you're aligned there in your pelvis, then the hips really want to come over the ankles and the shoulders over the hips. Bringing the gaze, whether your eyes are opened or closed, out like you're looking at the horizon. So there's a length in the back of your throat here. And a lift up through the top of your head. And then as we unfold our arms right on down beside us, we'll inhale both arms all the way out and up. And on the exhale, bend your knees a little bit as you come forward, hinging from your hips into your standing forward bend. Let your next inhale help you find a nice flat back, whether your hands go to your legs, your blocks, or your chair. And we'll step the right foot back and come into lunge. So coming into your lunge, again, using what you like underneath your hands, the support you like to use. Inhale. And on the exhale, we'll come into a downward facing dog pose. Now, everybody's different where their hands will be for dog. They can be on the floor. They can be on the blocks. They can be on the chair. Let yourself lengthen back through your tailbone. Elbows softly hug towards each other. And on your next inhale, come out towards a plank. You don't have to go all the way into one. You know that. You can put your knees down, do a half plank. If you want, you can come to your forearms and get out of your hands totally and do a forearm plank. So be where you can be there. Take your time. Feel that strength in the core of the body here. Good. And we'll come on back into down dog from here. So once you get into your dog, walk a little bit. Just bend one knee at a time. Let yourself easily get a little more into the back of one leg at a time. Good. And from here, we'll let our right foot come forward to find lunge. Now, you can put your left knee down if you need to get there, or both knees down, and then come forward if you want. Good. And we'll come on back into standing forward bend from here. So again, feet hips distance apart, parallel as you can be. Let yourself be mindful. If you feel fine to go ahead and release fully over your legs, you can. If you like to bring your hands to your elbows and that feels really good, go right for that. But if you need support, use support. And let your breath come in and go out really fully and deeply. And see if you can feel the movement through your ribs as you inhale and exhale. So when you inhale, the ribs expand in all directions. When you exhale, the ribs come back in a little bit. Let your face be soft. And then we'll let our hands come back up to our hips, bend our knees and rise straight up to standing, inhaling our arms out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Let's inhale the hands right up through the midline here. On the exhale, open the arms like wings as you fold forward from your hips into your standing forward bend. Let your next inhale help you find that flat, long back. And left foot steps back this time to come into lunge. And inhale. Exhale into that down dog. Again, down dog can be on the chair, on the blocks, on the floor. Let those elbows hug inward so you feel your shoulders in a really good place. Feel the length through both sides of the body equally. And And we're going to come on out to that plank. Again, it is up to you about doing these planks. If you like to do push-ups, you can bend your elbows. Let them come in towards your ribs a little bit. Come a little more into your arms and your shoulders. Feel your biceps working. And then you can come on back into down dog again. Reaching back again equally. So you feel equal through the sides of your body. And this time the left foot will come forward to come into lunge. So again, how you get there, up to you. And then we'll step back into standing forward bend. Feet hips distance apart, parallel. Be mindful of how your back feels. But again, if you're okay to let your head hang too, maybe even nod or shake your head a little bit to let your neck release even more. Find a little more release. Good. And then letting your hands rise back up to your hips. Bend your knees, press into your feet and rise on up. We'll inhale the arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Let's unfold our arms and bring our hands behind us. Interlace your fingers, clasp your hands. Let your palms stay apart though. Your elbows are a little soft. So letting yourself feel, you're right here to feel what your pelvis is doing. Your hands are there so that you can tell if you happen to be tucking a little bit with your tailbone. That's an exaggeration right there. But think about your tailbone reaching down towards between your heels at the same time, zipping up your low belly. Good. One more inhale. And on the exhale, bend your knees and come forward. Now, you can stay flat back so that you're like a tabletop. You're parallel to the floor, right? Or you can keep going. Anybody who likes to fold over their legs when they're here with their back arms back like that, you can. Some of you may want to release your arms off your back too. So if you choose to do that, you can. Depends on your shoulders. And then we'll release our arms on down. Let your next inhale help you find that nice long back. Good. Let's step left foot back and come into lunge. Good. Now from here, from this lunge, we're going to step into a plank pose if we can. So see if you can make your way back into a plank pose. Good. And then from here, go into your down dog. Right? So reaching back into down dog. And if you have to adjust your feet, adjust your feet. Walk a little bit. Let yourself move a little bit. Good. And let's come on out to plank again. Now, it is optional here to do a back bend. If you want to do one, you can. Right? You can come down to the floor and go into a sphinx. You can do a little cobra if you want. You can let your hips come down, come through for an up dog if you choose. It is totally optional to do any kind of back bend. And then we'll come on back again into downward facing dog pose. So ease your way, take your time. And we're going to come out again towards that plank. And again, it is a total optional thing to do any kind of a back bend here. You can come to the floor, go up to your forearms, do a sphinx. You can do a little cobra or an up dog or not. And then we'll make our way back again into down dog. From here, let's bring our left foot forward to come into lunge. And again, it doesn't matter how you get back into that lunge. And then we'll come back into standing forward bend again. Feet right underneath us. Now, if you need some support, use it, because we're going to lift our toes all up. So see if you can lift all your toes up. And think about now whether you're rolling on your feet at all. Make sure you're not rolling to the pinky toe side of your feet or to the big toe side of your feet. You can let yourself feel very equal between the big toe mound and the little toe mound on the floor. And then see if you can spread your toes out without doing anything but using your toes to do that. And if they're not cooperating, you're more than welcome to put your hands to your feet and kind of separate your toes a little bit if it feels good. You can even massage each little toe if you want to. And then go ahead and release your toes back down to the floor. Bend the knees a little bit. Press equally into your feet. We're going to rise on up to standing and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. From here, let's bring our left arm on top of our right and give ourselves a little bit of a hug. Let yourself release here. Tilt your head a little one way, and then when you're ready, let it go the other. Just releasing there through your neck. If you like to stay on one side because you found a good place to hang out, do it. And then come on back with the head up. Now, if you can release your hands from your shoulders or wherever they were, and start to just send them a little bit towards each other, just a little bit. You can stop anytime. You can keep going into your eagle wrap if you want. That right hand can come into the left palm there, and you can come into that final little twist. Don't do that if it feels bad in your shoulders, right? If you'd rather just stay hugging, stay hugging. If it feels pretty good to slide into a little half wrap too, you can do that. One more breath. And then come back to your hug. Let your elbows melt down. And then unfold your arms on down beside you. And we're going to rise the arms straight out into a T position. Let yourself reach out through your fingertips, reach up through the top of your head. And then we'll bring the right arm on top of the left to give that hug. You know, you can go armpit level with the hands. You can go up over your shoulders. It's up to you. And then just tilt a little bit. Let it feel good. Let yourself release. And you can, of course, roll your head forward too. I didn't really say that on the other side, but let it feel good. Make sure you're not locking your knees too. And then come on back. Let your gaze come on back up so you're looking directly forward. Release your hands. And again, maybe just a little bit. Maybe just a little bit of letting the hands off the shoulders. Maybe you want to slide your left hand to the outside of your right elbow and press them into each other, right? That's an engagement. Or you can do the wrap if you want. Left hand towards the right palm, left fingers towards the right palm. Take your time, let yourself release where you can in your shoulders. And then we'll release the arms on down beside us. Let's inhale the arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, as our hands come down through the midline, imagine the top of the head is getting higher up towards the ceiling. Coming into mountain pose, feeling that lightness in your head. Enjoy feeling equal between your feet, all the way up through your legs into your hips, very balanced. Just imagine the air all around you is holding you up in your mountain pose, so it becomes almost effortless to be in your mountain. And then we'll let our arms release on down beside us and move around however you need to. We're going to come into some warrior poses. I'm going to flip my chair around and have your blocks handy here at the front of your mat. We're going to step our right foot back and come into warrior two, lining up our heels. So getting our heels about in a line and making sure that back foot is comfortable for you, whether it's parallel to the back edge or your heel goes back a little farther. And then bend that left knee, coming into aligning the knee out over the center of your foot. And from here, go ahead and float your arms on up. Flex your hands for a second. Feel the undersides of your arms. Look at the back of your left hand. And then go ahead and let your palms face down as you reach out through your fingertips, feeling the shoulders soften down. Be mindful, feel the feet in the floor. For a second, imagine you're trying to make your mat longer with your feet. Press your feet a little away from each other. Feeling your hips, feeling your low back. Good. Let's put our right hand now down on our right hip. And we're going to come into a straight left leg. Straighten that leg out. And bring your left hand down for triangle. So you may want to put your hand up high. You might want to be up on the chair back or down to the chair seat. You might want to go down your leg to your shin, or you might want to use a block. I love blocks for triangle. I love to put my hand on a block, either in front of or behind that left leg. So if you can, look down at your left foot for a second. Make sure you're not rolling on that foot, right? You don't want to roll to the pinky toe side, which is kind of tempting. And then see if you can look towards the long edge of your mat. Whether you add this right arm straight up from your shoulder in triangle or not is up to you. Thighs are engaging up towards the hips. Find that length out, all the way out through the top of your head. Good. One more breath here. And now bend your left knee again. We're going to come back to Warrior Two, pressing those feet away from each other as we rise right on back up into Warrior Two. Looking out over the top of that left hand, soften your shoulders down. And then we'll bring our hands down. We're going to turn our feet more parallel for a wide-legged forward bend. So some of you might want to grab blocks. We're going to come on forward, either hands to the blocks or the floor in front of us. And you want your feet as wide as feels good for you, right? At least a little wider than your shoulders, but more if you want. And once you start to bend a knee at a time, your feet are still fairly parallel if possible. Bend a knee at a time as long as it doesn't bother your knees, and then you can kind of maybe decide about how far apart your feet want to be. So once you're comfortable, come on back into center, let both of your knees bend just a little bit, and imagine you're trying to make your mat longer again with your feet. Press them away from each other. Feel how your inner thighs melt their way behind you when you do that. Lengthen out through your spine. Good. Now, let's let our hands walk over to the right. Now, you may just want to shift your blocks a little to the right, or you might want to walk all the way over towards your right foot. Go as far as feels good for you. Once you get there, stay for a couple of breaths. And then come on back through center. And again, you might want to just shift your block to the left or blocks to the left a little bit, or you might want to walk over towards your foot. And again, once you get where you want to go to, stay there and breathe. Good, and then we'll come on back into center again. And go ahead and adjust how you need. If you need to bend your knees, if you like, we're going to stay in the pose for a few breaths. If you like to support yourself, you can stack blocks up to get yourself out of your hands, to be in your forearms there on the blocks. Or, of course, I know some of you are fine to go ahead and fold and bring your hands back towards between your feet. Remember, in this pose, you don't want to feel like you're uncomfortable or that you're like in any point of near pain, right? So adjust accordingly to that so that you can really release through your upper body, really let go. And then bring your awareness to watching your breath, coming in and going out through your nose. Letting your face be soft. Good. One more breath. And when you get ready to rise up, if you need to bring your feet together more before you do, by all means do, so that when you come up, you're okay to do that. And if you're dizzy, be really mindful there once you get up. And then just walk around a little bit if you can. Move through your feet a little, maybe pick them up, kind of circle a little bit with your feet. We're going to go the other side. So if you need your blocks back, bring them back around and line up those heels as you step your left foot back. And you can bring your alignment as you bring your bend into that front knee, you get aligned with it, right out over the center of the foot. Be careful if it's kind of heading inward. Encourage that knee to go out over the center of your foot. And then when you're ready, rising the arms on up and out, and flex your hands. Let yourself look at the back of your right hand and feel your shoulders softening down away from your ears. Good. And then let the palms face down as you reach out through both sets of fingertips. Don't forget about reaching back through the left, forward through the right. Imagine your arms are growing out of your back, so you're not holding up the tops of your shoulders to keep your arms there. They're being held up from underneath. Press your feet a little bit away from each other. Feel your hips, the core of the body. Left hand is going to come down to the left hip. Right knee is going to straighten out. And that hand is going to come down for triangle. Again, you can come down as high as up as you want on your leg. You can use a chair. You can use a block underneath your hand if you choose, so that you feel the thighs gently lifting up towards the hips. Again, look down at your right foot. Make sure you're not rolling to the little toe side of your foot. It's very easy to do that. You can lift all your toes up there and see them and see if you are. And then go ahead and draw your left shoulder up. There you are, lengthened through both sides of your body, and you can add that top arm up if you want to. Not necessary. The eyes are lifting up towards the hips. Let yourself enjoy lengthening through the spine here. Beautiful. One more breath. Now we're going to bend the right knee. Press the feet gently away from each other to rise back into that warrior two. There's your core strength. And then as our hands come down, we're going to turn again with our feet more parallel for that wide-legged forward bend. So again, take your blocks with you as you need them. Let yourself bend a knee at a time again, just to adjust. Be mindful about letting yourself get the distance apart between your feet where you feel good. And then let yourself lengthen out through your spine here. So bring your hands out, either on blocks or the floor, so your spine is long. So your hands are out farther. They're not going back between your feet. They're out in front of you a little bit, but your back is flat. And then from there, bring your right hand on up to your right hip and roll your shoulder up a little bit. You can put your hand palm down onto your sacrum there if possible. Trying to stay level right there in your sacrum. And then we'll bring that right hand on back down, and we'll go the left hand on up. And again, as you roll that shoulder up, you're trying to stay right level there so that your twist is in the middle of your back. Good. And then come on back down again. Bend both your knees. See if you can bring your elbows above your knees for a second. So you're supporting yourself with your elbows above your knees into that kind of squat there. Spine is long. Nice. And now whether you come forward or not, or you decide to use your blocks under your forearms to support you, again, come on in to where you can be with your breath here. If you need to adjust, if you get to where you think you're okay, but then after a breath or two, you know it's not so good, then do what you need so that you are able to find a place to be able to focus on the breath and not be distracted by anything in the body, right, that's taking your attention. And watch your breath. See if you can find those little spaces between your breaths. So when you inhale, there's that little space at the end of your inhale before you exhale. And then when you exhale, there's the same thing at the end of your exhale, that little space, that little pause before you inhale. So it's not like you're holding your breath. It's just like you're bringing your awareness to those little spaces between the breaths. And if you can, just imagine that you're relaxing in those little spaces between your breaths. Good. One more full, complete, deep breath. And to rise up, you want to, again, be really mindful if you need to bring your feet together more before you come up. Do whatever works for you to rise up. If you're dizzy, be careful there as well. And bring those feet on together. Walk around a little bit if you need to. We're going to come into Warrior One this time. So we're turned towards the front of the mat. You want your blocks back forward. And we're going to come forward so that at first you're towards the front of your mat. And when you step your right foot back for Warrior One, it might be 2 feet, it might be 3 feet. It depends on you. Your shoulders are still square to the front of the mat. This back heel is rotated back to where you're turned out maybe 20 or 30 degrees in this back foot, right? So that you want to be okay right here in the front of your hip, right? You don't want to feel discomfort. Shorten your stance if you need to. And bring your hands just together in front of your chest, in front of your heart. So feeling that sense of being very balanced here in your warrior one. Even though the front knee is bent, the back leg is straight, you still feel very balanced. Right to left, front to back. Let's inhale the hands right on up through the midline. Separate your hands, turn your pinkies towards each other, and come on up with your gaze a little bit if you can. When you do that, your belly automatically engages. So let yourself feel that sense again of the arms growing out of your back. When the pinkies turn towards each other, the shoulders melt down. See if you can inhale, imagine the breath flowing up the front of your body, over the top. When you exhale, that the breath goes down the back of your body. We'll bring our gaze back forward. We're going to lower our arms on down. And from here, bring your hands behind you and maybe just bow your head. That might be enough, right? I know some of you might want to actually bow forward over your front leg, letting yourself release there. If that's too much, don't do it. Stay up higher. One more breath. And then release your hands down towards the blocks or the chair, whatever you're going to use there, and find your lunge now. So now you're going to let that right heel reach directly behind your foot. Make sure the foot is now back off, heel reaching behind your foot, and we'll add a twist. Left hand to the left hip, and rolling that left shoulder up. You can keep your hand palm down like we did when we were in that wide-legged forward bend, or you can stretch your arm up if you want in your twist here in the lunge. So be where it feels good for you, for your shoulder. Lengthen out through the top of your head, but reach back through that inner right heel. And then bring your left hand back down. We're going to step forward and get our feet right under us. And then we'll bend our knees and rise on up to standing and inhale our arms out and up overhead. And let our exhale bring our hands right down. Now once you get into your mountain, shift around a little bit. Go a little bit forward and backward. And then see if you can just shift a little bit side to side so you feel like you're just easily swaying a little bit, right? And then come on back and try to get yourself with your knees a little soft, really centered out. Just enjoy finding your mountain pose. Feeling the air around you, and enjoy that sense of the body really wants to align itself. And when it does, it becomes so easy to be in mountain, it feels like you could just stay there all day. And then we'll go ahead and release. Let our arms come on down. Shake out just a little bit. And we're going to step our left foot back this time. So come in towards the front of your mat. And again, now whether you step 2 feet, 1.5 feet, 3 feet, 4 feet, stepping back with that left foot, let that turnout be maybe 20 or 30 degrees. Remember, your feet can be wider. If you're like lost of balance here, let your feet go a little more towards the outer edges of your mat, and that gives you a little more width in the pose, a little easier balance. Bend that front knee, look down at your toe, make sure, look at your foot make sure that knee is not coming out beyond your toes. It's in the center of your foot. And then bring your hands to your heart again. So you feel your shoulders over your hips. And your pelvis is a little tilted in Warrior One. You're not trying to tuck your tailbone forward. It's reaching back on a diagonal line. So here you are, Warrior One, balanced. Good. And then from here, let's inhale our hands up through the midline, open the arms. Now you can go as wide as you want. You can keep your hands over your shoulders if you'd rather. Turn your pinkies towards each other. Feel how that drops your shoulders down. And then again, if you can look up a little bit, there's this lift right here at the base of the shoulder blades. You do not want to feel compression or like you're sinking into your low back. Inhaling up the front of the body. Exhaling down the back. Feet equal on the floor, and enjoy that openness in the front of your left hip. One more breath. And then as you bring your gaze forward and release your arms on down and bring your hands behind you. Again, you might just want to bow your head, right? Let yourself come just into a little bit of a release there. If it feels good to fold more and more and more over that front leg, you can. That is so not for everybody. Do what feels okay for you. And then we're going to release our hands down to find lunge. So again, you can use the blocks, you can use your chair. You may want to change your length of your stance a little bit. Let that left heel reach directly behind your foot. And then bring your right hand onto your right hip and roll that shoulder up into that twist. Hand can be palmed down on the sacrum. You can reach the arms straight up from your shoulder if you choose to. And if you're reaching the hand up, think about the palm facing, towards that long right side of your mat there so that you're easily reaching up through that hand. One more breath. And then we'll come on back down with our hand. We're going to step forward and get our feet right underneath us. And then we'll bend both our knees and rise on up. We're going to inhale our arms all the way out and up. And let our exhale bring our hands right down to be in front of our hearts. Again, enjoy mountain pose here. Do what you need to do. If you need to shift around or change your stance a little bit, do. And then be with your breath. Nice. And then we'll let our arms come on down beside us. Shake out just a little bit. Move around a little if you want. Let's leave our mat so we don't have to mess around with moving them around. But go to a wall, and all you need is just enough space at the wall to touch the wall with one hand. So we're going to just balance a little in tree pose. So you can spread out as much as you want. Yeah. And let's do left hand towards the wall. There you go, yeah. So we're not going to take up much space. And we're going to stand on our left foot, and we're going to come at the right foot, either right heel to the inside of your ankle and your toes still on the floor for tree there. Or maybe you like to put your right foot up to your inner calf so that the heel is not on the knee. You want the foot below the knee if you're doing that one, so that it's almost like your foot kind of fits there into your calf too, right? Or you can reach down, bring your foot on up into your inner thigh if you choose to do that, letting your foot come up as high as you can. So that again, you're not pressing into your knee with your foot. And then play a little bit. Let yourself release if you can from the wall. Whether you allow yourself to bring your hands to your heart, or you can bring your arms up overhead if you want. Sometimes that helps, actually. Sometimes arms overhead helps bring that extra lift. So if you prefer to bring the arms overhead, you can. If you prefer to keep your hand on the wall, do. And if you start to go, timber, I'm falling down, put your foot down and readjust again if you'd like. Good. Come on down and take care of that leg you're standing on as we turn around. So we're going to do the other side. So you're on your right foot. Your left heel can come into the inside of the ankle with the toes on the ground, which is a really good foundation for tree, even though you think, well, that doesn't take much balance. It actually really forces you to lift up through the front of that right hip. And of course, you can bring your foot into the inner calf. You can bring the foot up into your inner thigh. Take your time, letting go of the wall if you choose to, using the wall to help you if you like. Remember, if you feel like it's not such a great balanced day, you need to put the foot down and readjust. When you're ready, let yourself release on down. And let's come on back to our mats on the floor. And once you get there, come on down to your belly. Let yourself release all the way down onto the floor, onto your belly. Make a little pillow with your hands. Rest your forehead there on your hands. And then just bend your knees and let your feet circle around, right? In fact, you can actually do whatever you want with your feet up there, your own little foot dance. Move around however you want. You can even let your legs go, lower legs go side to side, so you do those windshield wiper blades too, if that feels good. Good. And then come on back, let your legs lengthen down long, and curl your toes under for a second, okay? So that you have maybe just the tips of your toes on the floor. And then lift your knees up. Engage your belly a little bit here. Your tailbone's going to curl down. Lift your knees up so you can stretch the bottoms of your feet. So you've got your thighs up off the floor probably. Your knees are straight. Belly's engaged, but you can feel the bottoms of the feet getting a good stretch. And then let the thighs come back down. Let the knees bend. Come back to the tops of your feet. And then from here, let's come up into a Sphinx pose, letting our elbows come pretty close to under our shoulders unless we're uncomfortable here, right? You can go lower, slide your arms back more so that you're not up so high. You're still in a back bend. Right here, you're using your back. Here, actually, it's maybe just a little less use of the back, but you're getting a little more open in the front of your body if you're up higher. So spread your fingers nice and wide if you can. Let your gaze come just between your hands, maybe a little bit forward. Just make sure you're not doing that, kind of breaking the back of the neck. But instead it feels long in the back of your throat. Good. And then from here, bend your right knee and just flex the foot. You don't have to bend it very much. Engage your belly a little bit. Let yourself then release that leg back long and go to the left. You don't have to bend it much. You can bring the foot up like it's going up towards the ceiling. You can keep it just barely off the floor if you want. Because that is a back bend right there, right? That goes a little more when you do your leg like that. And then come on back down. And now come back down to rest your forehead on your hands and bend that right knee again like you just did. And this time, see if you can pull your heel in towards your buttocks. And if possible, float your head up off your hands. And some of you might even want to go into reaching your right hand back and getting hold of the top of your right foot. Now, that's not for everybody, but you can if you can get back there and get it. And if you do have the foot, you can either pull your heel in towards your buttocks a little more, which is a good feeling stretch in your quad. Or maybe you can push the foot into your hand and maybe even go up a little higher with your body. Your left forearm can support you in your half bow pose. This is actually really a hard pose. I mean, to me, I found it for a long time harder than a full bow pose. So come on back down, and we're going to switch. So first, put your head on your hands again. Bend your left knee. Flex the foot and see if you can just use your own muscle power to pull that heel in as close as you can towards your buttocks. And then see if you can float your head just a little off your hands. That might be enough right there. If you want to reach your left hand back to get hold of the top of your foot, you can. And again, you can, if you have the foot, pull it in towards your buttocks a little bit if you want to. And then you can push the foot into your hand. And again, some of you might want to slide your forearm closer to your waist and come up higher into half bow. Not necessary to do any of this, and you know it. And then we're going to release back down. Release your arms down alongside your body. Turn your palms down towards the ground so they're out on the floor. Your hands are out a little bit away from you where you feel real open across your chest. And then on your next inhale, let your head, your legs, and then your hands float up a little bit into a little locust pose. You do not have to go high. You can stay low. You might barely be able to get your feet off the floor and your thighs probably still be on the floor. That's fine. Let yourself be where you can. And then release and come on back down. Breathe into your low back. Bring your forearms now back in beside you and see if you can come back up into that Sphinx pose. And then bend your knees and come into a half forearm plank. So you're on your forearms. Clasp your hands together if that's easier for you. than keeping your hands separated like in Sphinx. And then you can imagine you're pulling yourself towards the front of the mat. So your belly really engages here. If you want to do a full forearm plank instead, you can. You can put your feet down, lift your knees up, and come into a full forearm plank if you'd rather. Big core work. Belly, low back, hips. Good. One more breath. Now we're going to release down. And we're going to come back into pose of a child or towards pose of a child. We're all different with this one. So if you need to stay forward on your forearms with your hips kind of up in the air, fine, do that. Not everybody feels good to bend their knees so deeply that their hips go down towards their heels. So be really mindful of your own knees. You can always make a pillow with your hand, rest your forehead on your hands there if you want to. Some of you might want to just put your head on the floor and let your arms be soft overhead. Or some of you might want to bring your arms back alongside your legs and let your palms face up. So all of those are different feelings for every one of us, so be mindful. Let it be a releasing pose, not like you're working in it, but instead you're relaxing into it. You're feeling the breath come into your low back. It's like the low back widens out when you breathe in. Nice. One more breath. Now, very easily, let your hands come by your knees if you can to help yourself up. And we're going to bring our legs on around the sitting. So you know, and only you know, if a blanket sounds like a good idea to be sat upon. So if you know you feel better up a little bit with your hips, go right ahead. And I'm going to mirror you guys now. So let's stretch our left leg out long. And see if you can bring your right ankle above your left knee into that figure 4. Okay? If that's too much, lower your foot down if you need to, or just bring the foot to the inside rather than crossing it, right? Now flex through this foot. Flex through your right foot here. Let yourself ease your way a little bit forward. Now, if you can put your hand onto the foot, if you can reach it, and push the foot into your hand a little bit, then you're engaged as you come forward. And be aware of this long left leg. Let the toes face up, right? You're pulling your heel down a little bit towards your mat, so you're engaged a little bit as you try to come forward. Letting the hip release here. Good. One more breath here. And then let yourself come on back up. We're going to switch legs. So just bringing that right leg on out long. And again, if you can cross, do. If that's too much for you, don't cross. Bring it more to the midline. And then when you think of coming forward, if you can put your right hand right there on the ball of the foot and push the foot into your hand a little bit, really engaging by pushing the ball of the foot into your hand. Then you're very engaged as you come forward. So not only are you getting into this left hip, but you're getting into the back of your right long leg there. Good. And one more breath here. And then let yourself come on back up. Bring your legs on out in front of you. Shake them out just a little bit. And now, if you want, you don't have to use your blocks, but you can try it. If you want to bring your blocks behind you to the lowest height and bend your knees. Now, I've got my fingers turned, so my hands are turned and my fingertips are facing towards my feet, right? And I hang them off the end of the block, so that if I were to lift up into 4-footed table here, it kind of feels okay to me. It may not feel okay to you, right? So if you're like, yeah, there's no way, don't do it, number one. The other thing you can do is not use the blocks, come to the floor, and the other thing is you can turn your hands the other way like that, so that your fingertips face behind you instead of in front of you. And all of those, yeah, it feels very different in the shoulders. For years, this is the only way I could ever come up, was turning my hands back. And now it just feels better to turn my hands the other way. So, you know, it's just, shoulders change, trust me. I mean, you can do little tricep push-ups here if you're really into it. You know, you can let yourself be really sorry tomorrow, though, so hey. It's really into the wrist, too, obviously, right? So, you know, and if your wrist bothers you, it's not the thing to be doing. So when you're ready, stretch your legs out and then take care of your hands. Like, I like to just wrap one hand around the other wrist and open and close my hand and squeeze my wrist with my other one. It just feels really good to me. So shake out, let yourself be mindful, and we are going to come down onto our backs on the floor from here. So take your time, get everything out of your way. You can come down however you want. If you like rolling down through your back, by all means do it. If that feels really good to you, to roll down through your spine. Just be easy. Once you get down there, bring your right knee in towards your chest and extend your left leg down long on the floor. Now you can hold behind your right thigh or you can hold your shin there. Actually, let's all hold behind our right thigh. Hold behind your thigh and then let your right foot come up like you're putting a footprint on the ceiling. And then just kind of draw your thigh a little more towards your outer right ribs and down a little bit more towards the floor if you can. And just really feel the openness in the left, front of the left hip right here. Think about that leg instead of the leg you've got your hands on there. Good. And now let the right leg come a little away from you. If you can stretch it up long, do. Take your time. Don't worry about trying to pull the leg way in towards you. Just let yourself extend into the back of the leg a little bit there. If you still have a slight bend, don't worry about it. It's still going to get a nice little hamstring stretch for you there. And then bend the knee again. Bring your foot on back down, and we're going to switch to bring the left knee in towards the chest and extend the right leg down long on the floor. Hold behind your thigh. All right, flex through both your feet. Feel the right heel on the floor. And then send that foot up like you're putting a footprint on the ceiling. Let the thigh slide a little more to the left. It's almost like your left knee is thinking of coming towards your left shoulder more. Really, it's towards the side of you more. And just enjoy, again, feeling that openness in the front of the right hip. And then, of course, you can, if you want, let the leg come away. Stretch it long. Don't worry about trying to pull the leg in towards you. You do not want to feel a discomfort at your hamstring attachment and your sitting bone, but you know, some of you may want to encourage the leg more in towards you because it feels good. Good. And then we'll bend that knee. Let's bring both knees in towards the chest, send our feet up in the air and come into a little happy baby pose. Slide the knees on off to the side. You're more than welcome just to keep your hands around the outside of your thighs, even on the back of your thighs, and maybe roll side to side or reach up to get your feet or your ankles if you want to in your happy baby. Let it feel good. If your back and hips feel good to roll side to side, do. If that doesn't feel good for you, don't do it. It's not for everybody, but good. Come on back. Let your knees come on back, and so that you bring your feet to the floor. And let your arms now stretch out beside you into like the letter T, but let your palms face up so your arms are soft. And let's cross our right thigh over our left. So if you're sitting woman cross-legged, if possible, okay? If that doesn't work for you, go ahead and do the figure 4 like we did. And then press into your left foot. Lift your hips up a little bit, shift them to the right, and put them back down. So they're only about 3 inches over. And let your knees come over to the left into a little twist. Now, when the knees come, your right foot can stop you right soon, right? Your right foot can be there. You don't have to let your knees go any more down towards the ground. You're still in a bit of a twist. If you want the knees to lower down more, you can. You can use a block if you want. Rest your knees on a knee on a block there, or you can let yourself stay up with your foot holding you up, or keep going down with the knees. You got to be mindful of what feels good in your back. You may decide you want to turn your head to the right, so you're looking away from the direction your knees are going. If that feels good, to add it up into the upper back there too. Good. One more breath there. And now when you start to head back up, uncross as you come, because you're going to need to shift your hips up and then back down. Kind of straighten yourself out, right? So get to where your spine is kind of neutral again. And then bring your left thigh on top of your right. And then lift your hips up, shift them to the left, 2 or 3 inches, and put them back down. And then let your knees come over to the right. And again, you can let your foot stop you so you don't go really very deep into a twist at all. You can, if you want, put a block down there and let your knees come lower and your legs rest there. Or you can go to the floor. And if you like to look to the left, you can let your head just roll to look over towards your left. Enjoy just releasing your shoulders down towards the ground and watch your breath coming in and going out. Once you start to head up, remember you'll want to uncross pretty quickly and then just straighten your spine out again. Once you do that, go to do whatever your body feels like doing. If you need to bring your knees in, if you need to stretch your legs out, perhaps some of you want to bring yourself back into that happy baby, or some of you might even want to roll up into a little bridge pose if you feel like you want to come into any other movement or pose. Let yourself do it. Doesn't have to be anything I mentioned. Let it be something that your body really just wants to do. As we get ready for Shavasana, you want to be able to be comfortable. So if you need another hip opener, or if you need another twist, take your time. Start to walk around. Once I get the lights off, then I will come to bring anything that anybody might need in order to feel more relaxed for Shavasana. Really think that this is really the most important part of class.
Yes.
Some people's favorite part. Some people, not quite like that. But wave at me. If you bolster sounds good. I'll start to bring them around, but if I miss somebody in the process, you'll have to give me a little bit of a sign. I got you, Pat. Welcome. So remember too, if you feel uncomfortable, you need a little bit of support underneath your head to let your neck release, by all means. Let me bring you a blanket. Just a little bit underneath the head sometimes can be all it takes. Watch your own breath now. Easily accepting your breaths in and out. mind is going to wander away from that. It always does. That's okay. Just when you find yourself off into thinking, see if you can just gently bring your awareness back to your breath. And feel how as the body starts to relax with those breaths, that your brain does a little bit too. You find just a little bit less activity. You find those little quiet places. So just give yourself the gift of these few minutes to allow your body and brain to benefit however they need from all you just did. Just by allowing yourself to completely and fully relax. breath naturally wants to deepen, lengthen. Just let those deeper breaths bring you back into feeling physical again. Letting your fingers, your toes, perhaps your hands and your feet start to wiggle around at first. And take your time to move how you need. Stretch if you need to stretch everything out. If you need to bring your knees up and into. Just be mindful. You know you're welcome to roll onto either your right or your left side if you're comfortable to do that. You can come into a soft fetal position and let the ground support you for a little bit longer. And appreciate gravity holding you down there. And just take your time. When you do feel like you're ready to rise up to sitting, just let it be easy to press your way up and to get comfortable in how you sit, so that if you need to rearrange your legs or grab a blanket to sit on, you can feel comfortable in your hips as you lengthen up through the crown of your head. And then be aware of letting your hands rest to where you feel comfortable in your shoulders, so that it's very easy to feel nice and open across your chest, to feel that length upward through the top of your head. And then come back to your breath. Now that your head is up there above your heart, start to feel again like feeling the breath coming into the belly. And on your next exhale, allow your hands to come together to meet right there in front of your chest. And wishing each one of you a very joyful day. Namaste.
Namaste.
Happy Monday. Happy Labor Day.